Hello everyone, thank you for checking out this video. In this video, I'm just going to, this is just a continuation of the previous one and going over how I pretty much improved um, the Terraform script in the previous video. The Terraform script that we was going over was this one right here, the test TF multi, which is basically testing multiple deployments of EC2 instances. And and basically in that previous video, which I already to explain what the error was, and I'll let you look at that video to figure out what that error was. Well, I'll go over it briefly right now, where that error was pretty much the script was able to deploy multiple EC2s at the same time. However, it could deploy 1 through 4 EC2 instances at a time. However, if you put 5 EC2 instances, like say I want to deploy 5 EC2 instances, that's where Terraform broke because for some reason at that point, Terraform only would not allow uh, would not allow uh, more systems to be created than the number of subnets that it was provisioning. So Terraform at that point did not know how to count. Okay, I have one subnet, two subnet, three subnets, four. It knew it had four, but it didn't know that okay, if I deploy four EC2 instances, that fifth one needs to be put back into availability zone A. So basically, one EC2 instance in A, B, C, and D. Well, basically A, B, C, D. Yeah, A, B, C, D. And then that fifth one should be put back into A. It didn't know about that at the time. It just said, okay, I'm going to do availability zone subnet. Well, actually it was counted by the subnets. And it's going to do subnet A, B, C, D, and then it will try to say, okay, let me try to create subnet E, and that's where it broke because it only saw four subnets, not five. So in this case, I actually improved on that. And if you want to be, like, I'm not going to explain everything in the code. We already went over that in the previous videos. Only thing I'm going to show you here is the new variables that I created. I got rid of the subnet name. Uh, added a new variable called number of subnets, and I think that was there in the previous video, but I'm not sure. Also, we already know what what the CIDR blocks are right here for the public subnet, and I added a availability zone um, variable, which basically has all four availability zones in there. So then what I did was I made a couple of changes here in the network TF. Let me see. First, I've created a data resource basically saying, okay, I need you to check all availability zones. I need you to grab only the available availability zones. So basically the ones that are running at the moment, not the ones that are down under maintenance or anything like that. Give me the most available ones. And then I went ahead and I added the number of subnets here into the public subnet resource, and I went ahead and since this by default is equal to 4, so what it's going to do is going to deploy 4 subnets, and then what it's going to do is going to take each subnet and place them in a different availability zone. This wasn't happening in the previous code because I don't think this parameter was there yet. But what it will happen is every time it creates a new subnet, what we'll do, it will basically say put subnet 1 in A, 2 in B, 3 in C, and 4 in D. And then what would it do and that's what it's gonna do. So that basically means that I have four subnets in four different availability zones. And that's very, very good. Um Scroll down. Right here in the subnet and the route table association, I had to add a new I had to add the same variable here for the length of the number of associations, which basically saying, hey, I need you to count the length of public IPs that are being created and associate each one with the route table. And that's basically what I did. That's basically what's going to happen here. It's going to basically associate each one with the main route table. And then go here in the main, and I did a couple of changes here. Now, this one has nothing to do with the network, but this one has to do with the EBS volumes. Since the EBS volumes are being created based on the number of EC2s, I put the number of EC2s there, the var EC2 count, which basically is going to be 1 EC2 being created. And so basically what it's going to do, if you put 1 to 5 or to 1 to 6 EC2s, what's going to happen is it's going to create a EBS volume for every EC2 that's created. And then what it's going to do, this is that same availability zone element again. What it's going to do is going to do the same thing here like it did with that's like it's going to do with the subnets. It's going to create an EBS volume. It's going to say EBS volume 0 in availability zone A, 1 in B, 2 in C, and 3 in D. Then 4 going to go back to A again. So basically it's going to basically loop through it's going to basically loop all the way through the availability zones till it gets to number 4, and then it's going to go and start the count all over again. That's what it's going to do. So, and then it's going to do the same. Then it's going to do the same thing with the attachments. So it's going to attach each EBS volume that's created to one of the EC2s, and then this is of course, my bash script that I created for the user data. And then here, this is the other piece that was changed from the previous one, and this is the variable. This is the EC2 resource. So what happens here? I basically now have it so that regardless of how you set up your environment, you're gonna have an HA pair of EC2s regardless of the matter. So for example, I'm doing EC2 count times the length of public IPs. So right now its default is set to 1 at the moment. So let's go. So think of this is 1 times 4. So that means per EC2, that means for every 1 EC2 that's created, for every subnet that's created, it's going to be 1 EC2 that's going to be created within that subnet. So for example, that's 1 times 4. So that means there are going to be 4 EC2s um, created in each subnet. And then what it's going to do is going to be, so you could do 1, you could do 2, you could do 3. All it's going to do is going to be 1 times 4, 2 times 4, 3 times 4, regardless of what you use. It's just going to basically times the length of the public subnets based by the number of EC2s that you wish to have created. Then it's going to basically go here. It's going to basically go ahead and it's going to basically go through the cycling portion, just like how it's basically going to cycle through, just like how it would do with the availability zones. So basically, if you said, like I said, if you have since you got to count the 1, it's going to count based on number by 4. So let's say this, just to make it short. If you want to deploy 10 EC2s per subnet per availability zone, they'll give you 40 EC2 instances, and they'll deploy 10 EC2 instances in subnet in availability zone A, B, C, and D. So you have an HA pair no matter how you continue to set it up. All right, so that's pretty much it. I hope I explained everything the way that it should. Well, I explained everything the way that you can understand it. And please, if it doesn't make sense, just let me know in the comments or leave something or leave a reply or something like that, whatever you guys like to do. So in the next video, I'm gonna go ahead and run the script and then basically show you in the Amazon web console how everything looks. All right, be right back.